with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. We got 4 games here on the main slate over on DraftKings and FanDuel for today. It starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so we got an extra half an hour before roster lock for us today to get all the latest news and updates. We did get the Andrew Wiggins news, which we expected. Andrew Wiggins is out for tonight, along obviously with Stephen Curry, D'Anthony Melton, all out for the Golden State Warriors. That was really the big injury news that we knew about, but we were waiting on here for today. I do want to say, and we'll get into these games to break it all down, I find it a bit interesting that the Pelicans are only 1-point favorites here. I understand that it's a back-to-back, but I don't know. No Curry, no Wiggins, no Melton. The Pelicans are going in with Zion and pretty much all healthy there, but it's a 1-point favorite there, 1-point spread. Do you think we might get like a late Zion questionable or something like that on this one?
They lost to Portland. That's Golden State. That's who they're playing. They lost to Portland outright. So by a lot. They literally got blown out of the water by Portland the second time they played them. So I don't know. Maybe they're covering their butts because they play again tomorrow. Same exact matchup tomorrow. And that's just maybe the sports books, setting a line telling us just in case Zion sits the front leg of a back-to-back, we will protect ourselves. But
I get the losing to Portland thing, but Portland still has like representative NBA talent on their roster, like Andy Simons, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton, and Scoot Henderson. And
so do the Warriors. Curtis chooses not to play.
Yeah, but he's
going to have to play him tonight.
They have less of those guys tonight, right? Like, I would say arguably their 2 best players are out tonight, and Wiggins and Curry. I don't think there's probably like too much of an argument like to be had there. You're rolling Hield out there. Obviously, Kuminga, he's going to have to play. We assume Podziemski's in the starting lineup tonight, moving in there. Like, they'll have to play Kyle Anderson some minutes. Gary Payton probably. I don't know. I looked down the line. To me, I saw the 1-point spread, and I was like, if everybody's in for New Orleans, this feels like a weird line. But maybe you're right. Maybe we're giving New Orleans too much credit here. I don't know.
Daniel Tice. I am not worried about a team. I know Daniel Tice is I'm not worried about a team starting Daniel Tice. No offense, Daniel Tice. Great career in Germany, but
there's nothing wrong with Daniel Tice. I mean, like,
there's something wrong with him when he's your starting center. That's when I start getting concerned for those.
Yeah. Well, he only plays 20 minutes a night here, anyways. But anyway, so like I saw that and I was like, there seems something suspicious about just the 1-point spread. Maybe it's just that the team, like you said, the league doesn't think highly, or Vegas doesn't think too highly of the New Orleans Pelicans here, but we will see. It is odd. These teams have a back-to-back against each other tomorrow night. Same, not even traveling anywhere. They're just staying in Golden State, running it out. We see the Celtics and the Hornets do that this weekend as well. So like the NBA schedule and its quirks, probably the in-season tournament throwing a wrench into some of that as well to kind of line up some of these matchups. So we got that. The playbook is live. All your pick 'em articles from Grande are out as well for Underdog, Prize Picks, and Sleeper. You can go take advantage of those. We have the 7-day free trial going on right now. See that QR code up in the corner. You can scan that or go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go. After that 7-day free trial, your first month is $19.98, less than $20 for that first month. You get access to everything on site, all premium content for free for 7 days. James, let's get into it. It's going to be obviously probably a quicker show with it just being 4 games and roster lock not until 7:30. If you guys do have any questions or comments, throw them in the chat. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. And we'll be happy to help you guys out here today. But diving into it, point guard position, Luka Doncic sold it all for us last night. He's $11,500 here, back-to-back against Minnesota. He had a great Western Conference Final series against Minnesota last year. Average over nearly 33 points a game, as close to a triple-double. De'Aaron Fox, 85. CJ McCollum, 76. And Dennis Schroeder, 6K. Like, those are your top 4 point guards on this slate here. If you're spending up today, do you find yourself going back into the Luka Doncic well?
I think it's incredibly appealing. And let me tell you why, right? Last night, Luka ended up not being as high owned as we anticipated once Atlanta ruled everybody out, and Trae Young basically, took his ownership and 2x'd it. But Luka was still highly owned, and Nikola Jokic wasn't, right?
Right.
We have the same scenario tonight where Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic are both playing this evening. And one of them had a good night last night, one of them didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Now the roles have reversed, where Nikola Jokic is the guy getting the ownership bump, and Luka Doncic is like, "Yo, hey, 13% want to roster me tonight? Okay, sure." And I think that's like an interesting leverage spot tonight because like the field is going to flock to Jokic. And I'm not saying that's a bad strategy at all. He's
Mm-hmm.
very good at basketball. He scored 40 plus in back-to-back games. He is a nightly triple double. But like, there's like a lot. I mean, Luka went for 44 fantasy points, going 5 of 22 from the floor, and only playing 33 minutes on the front
Yeah.
back to back. He plays 36 to 39 minutes, as we saw in the openers, sometimes 40 in competitive games. I mean, and games not against Utah. So like, I am perfectly fine if you want to get leverage on the field and say, you know what? I know Minnesota is really good defensively. I'm aware that Luka's coming off a terrible shooting night and Jokic has been what Jokic has been. But like, let's not lose sight of good players in bad matchups. Good players can be good or great players can be great in any matchup, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that time and time again. So I like if you were to ask me the way I'd rank them, I think Jokic is your safest spend up option of the slate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 2x ownership going to Jokic versus Luka, and
Yeah, I think there's sort of a clear roster construction build tonight because there is a lot of value that you can, potentially get to with the, with the Warriors in their situation. But there's a very clear, fair, and balanced approach that we could see people going with as well, where they don't get to Jokic or Luka here tonight, but instead they go and they play, a bunch of guys in that 8K tier, fit in a Zion and a Fox and things like that. And next thing you know, you're Edwards, and you're getting like 3 or 4 8K guys in your lineup that all have sort of that 40 to 50 fantasy point range. Whereas if you're spending up the 11K for Luka and Jokic, maybe you only fit one of those guys with them there. So short slates, we always talk about is you're gonna have some consolidated ownership. You're gonna have some high ownership on the obvious chalk plays here. And more of these slates more than ever, if you do find that low owned guy, like you said, if Luka's coming in and is at 15% and everybody else is at 30 and he goes for the 70 on a slate like this, there's less people in the player pool that can beat you, right? Like last night, you could play all the guys you wanted, but if someone had Banchero or Giannis over you, like you pretty much weren't able to catch up to that group, like
Jokic
right? Exactly. Yeah. So there's obviously smaller slates to have that advantage there. So I'm with you. I am fine going back to the Luka matchup here. He just missed all of his shots last night. Maybe they were looking past Utah to this matchup against Minnesota. We see teams sometimes lose some focus in those situations. And like I said, Luka cooked this matchup last year. And we'll see how they approach it here. De'Aaron Fox having a great start to his season, projected for a sizable amount of fantasy points tonight. They have a back-to-back, and they're in Utah tonight. Are you buying into Fox at 8,500 today?
That is easily the best game on the board. Sacramento, Utah, by a wide margin, best game on the board. I mean, their total is the over-under in that game is 235. The second highest over-under on the board is 220. They have a 15-point margin on the second highest implied total. And, Utah at home, only 7-point dogs. And Utah is 2-1 against the spread this year. So, something to be said there. I know they had their gruesome injury last night to Hendricks.
Yeah.
We don't know really. Like, we assume Collins is going to step into the lineup. We assume Clarkson's going to get a bigger role. We assume some of the young guys like Cody Williams and Bryce Sensabaugh are going to see bigger roles. But, like, we don't know. We did see after the injury, Collins and Walker Kessler did overlap in the fourth quarter, which is not something they've done yet this year.
Right.
They had been just starting center and backup center. So, yeah, this is the best game on the board by far. The thing you have to love about Sacramento and just being comfortable with Sacramento is the minutes are just as good as it's going to get, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Fox played 35 minutes last night, not because of blowout. I mean, they took him out, 3 minutes left. He's pacing for another 38 minutes again last night. So if you factor that in, 37, 41, 38 minutes,
he probably would have played less, but as we were recording, they had to put the starters back in that game because they started making a run against them.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you there. I like De'Aaron Fox. You always wonder, you add in DeMar DeRozan, who ends up like losing out, and really nobody's lost out yet. Everybody's continued to perform at a high level, even with the addition of DeRozan, in that rotation here. Obviously, you have McCollum. He has been fantastic. He's averaging over 23 points a game, shooting 40% from 3-point range. No DeJounte Murray, so a good spot for him if you wanted to spend up. Dennis Schroeder, I think, is a pretty interesting play here as well. With no Ben Simmons on the floor this year, 27% usage rate for Dennis Schroeder. The price tag at $6K looks pretty good. Denver defensively has not been very good this year. Coming out 46 fantasy points for himself against Milwaukee the other day, just kind of showing you what his upside can be here. Great value. I kind of like a couple of nets today going up against Denver. Him and we'll get to Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas numbers. You take a deep dive into those usage rates; those are pretty insane here. But I think I'd rather play Schroeder over McCollum tonight, just given the savings that you're getting.
Yeah, he's super safe. And him and McCollum largely look the same, no? And one guy is $1,500 cheaper. I mean, McCollum has been good, but he's benefited from 4 steals in back-to-back games. Can you rely on 4 steals in back-to-back games? I wouldn't put my eggs in that basket.
Right.
So I would just take the discount on Schroeder in a spot without Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I agree with you. Your chalk of the night, highest expected rostered player in single entries. He's probably 60, north of 60%. In your large field tournaments, he's 40 to 50% most likely, if not even higher. All the expectations are he enters the starting lineup for Steph Curry. You mentioned it on the show this morning. He had played the final 16 minutes of that game against the Clippers after Curry went out. It has not been a good year for Brandon Podziemski. He had a better rookie season. Obviously, we know he can fill the stat sheet up. Still averaging almost 20 fantasy points a game despite his 24 minutes and limited overall production here. So, if that game is going to be a 1-point game tonight, you got to think that he is going to be one of the factors of that reasoning.
I was looking up because I have the Showdown article coming out on FantasyAlarm.com right after the show, and I was looking at some of the numbers per 36 last year for Podziemski because I was just thinking about minutes and how Golden State's going to utilize him because they, Curry's their point guard, Podziemski's their backup, Melton's their third ball handler technically, and they don't have 2 of them. So per 36, Podziemski last year, 12.5 points, 7.8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal per game. I mean, if you got those numbers out of him, he's in every winning lineup because he's going to be popular. And I'm not sitting here suggesting he's going to play 36 minutes, but I do think that is at least in the range of outcomes, considering that is the one position that they're obviously kind of hurting at, right? We're guard. I mean, that's where they lost. They've been starting Wiggins at the 2. So they're just are really shorthanded at guard, specifically on the ball. So I love Podziemski. I'm not really worried about production to this point because we know what he has been for this team. We know he can do everything on the basketball floor. One of the best rebounding small people I've ever in 1 year I've ever seen. He just finds gaps to get offensive rebounds and whatnot. So I'm locking Podziemski in and not really thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Again, his ability to sort of just help out and fill up the stat sheet definitely definitely continues to sort of lend to the fantasy goodness there. We had talked about Dante DiVincenzo, he's point guard, shooting guard eligible. So if you wanted to play him over there, you can. He is coming off one of his better games. Still not great, right? Still not great, but $4,800 for him. If you wanted to just spurn the field, right? Like and hope Kerr occurs and plays like Gary Payton over Pajensky here tonight. Maybe DDD is your pivot off of that.
Yeah, I think he's a perfectly fine pivot because at the end of the day, DiVincenzo hasn't been great, but the minutes have been, the shot attempts have been, and so have the 3-pointers. So if he starts rattling off 6 or 7 threes, well, you have an excellent leverage spot there.
Yeah. Shooting guard. Anthony Edwards, $8,900. Again, a lot of people are going to him here. We talked about it, right? Like he hasn't really had a breakout game yet, but he's averaging 5 3-pointers per game. He's hit 5 3-pointers in all 3 games this season. Rebounding numbers have been fine. The assist numbers have been good. Defense, we do expect a few more steals out of him. We're complaining about him going 10 for 25 and 10 for 24. We do expect him to shoot closer to 45% than 40% from the field. And if that happens, you're looking at 50 or 60 fantasy points instead of like the 40 to 45 that we're sort of in that range for. Definitely think you can get to Edwards on this short slate, given few guys have his ceiling. But I think Cam Thomas for me is going to be locked and loaded into a lot of lineups. I already showed you his ceiling with 55 fantasy points in opening night. He had 45 the other day, taking a bunch of shots, knocking down threes, but he's also giving you other categories this year as well. Something that we hadn't gotten from him in the prior couple of years. Rebounding 5, 6, and 5, giving you some steals, giving you some assists. And then you kind of look at the numbers with no Ben Simmons on the floor this year. And obviously it's a smaller sample size. They've only played 3 games. It's like 40 minutes, I think it is, without Ben Simmons on the floor. He's got a 47.8% usage rate. It's 1.8 fantasy points per minute. Just in general, he's sitting at a 33% usage rate this year. So far and away, just out there launching. Christian Brown's going to be the guy that's probably going to defend him on this. And Brown's been really good with blocks and steals this year, but still I don't know, the way Cam Thomas is firing. Look what he did against a tough spot against Orlando. Still had 24 and 36 fantasy points there. Milwaukee, 32 actual, 36 actual against Atlanta. Yeah, give me some Cam Thomas at 7,700. This price just doesn't feel reflective of what he's doing right now.
Yeah, he has an elite scoring ceiling. I'm still a little indifferent about the peripheral stats being where they are, but there's no Simmons, so they need more playmaking outside of the scoring without Ben Simmons. So that
no Mikal Bridges this year either. Need him to do a bit more there. So
I do think we're gonna the rebounds do play into Simmons starting over Claxton, and once we get Claxton starting over a long period of time where he's going to be clearly their leading rebounder. But the potentials have been there. Almost 10 potential rebounds per game for Cam Thomas is pretty impressive. That's 3rd on the team behind Claxton and Simmons. But Claxton 10.7 per 19 minutes. So obviously as the minutes go up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely good getting to Cam Thomas. I think he is an elite bucket getter, and we've seen it already. Back 2 of 3 games, he's gone over 30 actual. Of Brooklyn, I probably prefer Schroeder on a per dollar basis better. But if you have the money to get to Thomas, that's obviously a fine leverage spot because Schroeder's going to be more popular.
Yeah, I think if you're avoiding the top 2 guys, right? If you're avoiding Jokic and Luka tonight, and you're just looking for guys that have ceilings to kind of all right, if this guy goes for 50, he can help offset. Cam Thomas is in that category, as is the guys right below him as well. Kyrie Irving, same sort of deal. If Kyrie Irving gets the playing time, which we know he will, and decides to be the Kyrie Irving we know and love, he got 47.5 fantasy points last night. Same price tag, same abilities, probably even a little bit better in terms of consistency historically with the peripheral numbers as well, giving you assists and things like that. You can go at either of those guys, with their upside. We've talked kind of McCollum already there. Ingram is the one I skipped over. He's $8,100. He's obviously been very good as well. And if this game plays competitively, again, it feels like this would be a really great spot for him.
Yeah, I think the whole 7K plus tier is interesting.
And you can play all of them. So,
all of them. Yeah, I mean, you said the thing about Ant about 5 threes. That's just made. He's taking 13.3 on average this year, which is I tweeted it. It's like 5 more than any other season he's had in the pros. Ingram leads them in potential assists, is second in potential rebounds. Big usage rate, just didn't make shots the last few games. Look what he did the first game. He made shots. He had 50 fantasy points. So definitely interested in Ingram, especially if we get word on the Zion like limitations. If there's still some type of cap and he's only playing 30, I mean, we're gonna get extra Ingram alone, or at least extra Ingram, just on the ball versus where he's, sharing it with Zion more. We talked about Cam Thomas. Love Kyrie in tournaments. I think Dallas, obviously, in general in tournaments is interesting.
Yep.
Would even kind of consider Jamal Murray from a minutes shot attempt perspective. And I still think Jamal Murray at his best is an $8,000+ player, not a $7,300 player. But he took 20 shots and played 40 minutes yesterday. 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Just didn't make any shots. It's like if he goes 10 of 20, holy cow, he would be in every winning lineup yesterday, right?
As Jokic said, nobody on their team was a good shooter.
Right. So I mean, so I think literally anyone over 7K is
yeah. Albert wants thoughts on Sexton here. We did touch on this in the morning show. We kind of preferred Clarkson at the price over Sexton, saving $1,100 on DraftKings here. Similar scoring profiles. Clarkson's got a 27% usage rate when on the floor this year. Obviously, things can now change. If Collins enters the starting lineup, because Clarkson and Collins are sharing the floor a lot, both being second unit guys. Collins actually led the team in usage rate when on the floor. So if there were those rotations now change about, and like you get Clarkson on the floor with like no Collins in, like that usage rate might jump to 35% from him there. Now we don't know obviously the starting lineup yet, and they could very well go in a different direction, but I think I'd rather play Clarkson over Sexton here tonight. I also like Klay Thompson. I mean, you can't hate the threes that he's taken, right? 10 or more in all 3 games. He's knocking them down, shooting 41% from 3, scoring the points, taking 13 or more shots, 15 and 16 the last few games. He's the third option, but he's the third option, a team that only really has 3 options. Like PJ Washington is just there, standing in your corner, kick it out guy. You think defensively tonight, like Anthony Edwards is going to be on like Kyrie, McDaniel might be on Luka, and then Klay draws just the other guy, right? That's going to be on the floor for them here. I think there's a good spot for Klay at 6K tonight.
We'll agree to disagree. I'm not a big Klay Thompson fan, and we kind of saw it. Like, one, I don't think that he's ever going to play like the 35, 36 minutes, and maybe he will later in the year. I don't think that's in the cards right now. And also we saw
versus Phoenix.
Yeah, 33 is fine. But we really need to maximize minutes for Klay because he's just not the guy. Opening night peripheral numbers, outlier. The second 2 nights, I mean, he's contending with Luka, Lively, Gafford on the glass. Sure. I mean, he is not going to get a lot of like rebound opportunities with those guys. And when, what are the assist numbers going to look like this year when, he just doesn't play with the ball in his hands? Like he has to make a lot of shots. And at 6, his prices has gone up from opening night where it dropped to 57. Now it's back up to 6K. I'm just, I
think on a slate like this though, I mean, again, if he gives you 30 fantasy points in that range, I think you're still good, especially when everybody's just playing Buddy Hield. So, again, this is a 50+% play on tournaments, probably 70 in single entry and cash tonight. 28 minutes, he hadn't really been playing a big role, but he was forced into a big role with everybody that was injured in that game. And, Wiggins didn't go out of that game until the very, very end. Now they don't have Wiggins to start. Outside, again, of Kerr just being a troll, like we have to assume that there's 30+ minutes here for Buddy Hield, and he probably leads the team in shot attempts tonight.
Do you think Buddy Hield starts? I don't. I think
you think Moody. They go like Gary Payton and Podziemski or something like that?
I think Moody. Because remember he had that random quote where like Moody started, and and he was like, in the preseason, he's like, yeah, he deserves it or something. He's been working hard. He deserves it. Well, like, that's not like a typical thing that a coach would say. Like, oh, he's been working hard. He deserves to start. But like, if that's Steve Kerr's approach, they paid him a little bit. My guess would be Pajemski, Moody, and then the same three: Kuminga, Draymond, and Trace Jackson Davis. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it is Buddy Hield. Either way, Buddy Hield's gonna take, like you said, he's gonna take a lot of shots when he's on the floor, and he's a pretty good peripheral guy. He's always been a pretty good peripheral guy.
I'm even okay if he comes off the bench still. I mean, like, that's, he's totally fine.
Yeah, put 20 minutes off he closed that game, right? 20 minutes and closed. So I'm perfectly fine getting the Buddy.
Yep, agreed. Jordan Hawkins, another guy that we've talked a lot about. They're without Trey Murphy. They were out DeJounte Murray, 28, 29, and 34 minutes for Hawkins. Got the 34 minutes in that blowout. We know he's a bucket. The rebounds have actually been pretty surprising for, what he is as a player here. So maybe, I don't really know if there's inconsistency, because so far he's been pretty consistent, but like, as a guard, you don't generally expect to see that many rebounds. But the shots and the scoring is definitely legitimate. At $4,900 on a slate like this, again, I'm more than okay going there. And if everybody goes in healthy for the Pelicans, and you think this game might end up, Vegas is wrong, which they very rarely are. You'll see, maybe Hawkins have himself a game. Getting Wednesday injury news on already. It's gonna be kind of crazy on the Wednesday slate, but we'll focus on that in a little bit. So I like Hawkins at 49 in this group.
Yeah, I think he's a very good tournament play for what we've gotten out of him so far.
If you had to pick Clarkson, Hawkins, or Brown, 53, 49, 4,400, who would you go with?
I really do like the Clarkson spot, just given what Taylor Hendricks is 28 minutes just soaking up. Maybe it's going to John Collins, maybe it's not, but big usage rate and could potentially just have the second unit to himself.
Yeah,
that would. I'll go Clarkson. Obviously, Brown has price and positional eligibility on his side.
Nets are one of the high leaders in turnovers this year. 1.7 blocks and 1.3 steals per game for Christian Brown. Again, we knew he was brought in to sort of replace the Bruce Brown KCP role of like their 3-and-D, not even really a 3-and-D, just a D, because he doesn't shoot threes. Not yet, at least. But I was surprised, to see the number of blocks and steals there. If you're getting 3+ blocks and steals, which could be, again, up tonight, given the matchup, I definitely think there could be something there. Even on FanDuel, you get the extra points for blocks and steals. I don't mind that.
He's a good pivot off Moody. Because
Moody 36, right?
Yeah, I mean, Moody's going to be really popular. And I think that there's I don't know what a realistic expectation for Moses Moody is, because we don't know what Steve Kerr's thinking ever, right? With minutes. But I do think mid-20s minutes is if he's starting, is safe. But from there, if he starts, it just probably depends on how the game flow is. If he's playing well, he might come in. If he's not, he might never see the floor again, other than his.
He got 15 and 19 in the two blowouts, and then he got 12 once Curry went out, right? So he basically wasn't in their rotation ish, until these games were getting out of hand or the injuries occurred. So
now there's
the injuries, right? Now the injuries,
yeah.
So he's kind of forced into some playing time. Like you said, they gave him money to hang around, so Kerr likes him. So
in that game, Moody played 1 second. So this is the Clippers game.
Mm-hmm.
He played 1 second quarter shift for 5 minutes. He played 1 fourth quarter shift for 5 minutes, and then was played the final minute of garbage time, which he just played over Kuminga, or he checked in for Lindy Waters checked in for Wiggins. He checked in for Kuminga for the.
I was gonna say he there's no guarantee Kuminga plays minutes tonight. I wrote that up. But Steve Kerr just does not seem to like this guy. Even as shorthanded as they are, it would not shock me if Kyle Anderson played like 28 minutes tonight and Kuminga played 20.
The projections love Jonathan Kuminga tonight. Like,
of course,
all the sites and like,
because
his
he's a
points
good
prop,
player that should
right.
be their leading scorer probably tonight.
19.5. That's his point. That's where his points are set at across the board. I mean, 19.5. That tells me like his $5,900 evaluation is far too low. Jonathan Kuminga is going for
we'll move on to small forwards so we can talk about it. Obviously, we've hit Ingram and these guys already. You do have Lauri Markkanen at 8K, who the rebounds have been great, but he's only scored on opening night. He hasn't really scored much since then. I don't know if adding John Collins to the starting lineup would be any better for Lauri Markkanen from an offensive standpoint. So I'm kind of off Lauri. I think maybe in cash games he's fine, but I don't really want to play a bunch of cash games on 4-game slates anyways. I do like DeMar DeRozan at 79. He's fitting nicely there for Sacramento. Talk Cam Thomas, Clay, and then you have Kuminga and you have Michael Porter Jr. Two guys we like, two guys that have been frustrating for us this year.
That is a very good way to put it. They've been very frustrating. I mean,
one's been drastically better than the other, but
one is playing. The other one's not.
One's playing, right? Like,
I mean, again, they're just so shorthanded. You would assume this is the guy that they would turn to and be like, get us a bucket. But there's just no guarantee. I'm going to take the bait. I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to ride or die with Jonathan Kuminga tonight because they need his scoring output. And I was high on Jonathan Kuminga coming into the year. So at 5,900, I'm getting there. But there's no guarantees that he is going. I mean, in a competitive game where, he plays 22 minutes. I don't understand it. But we'll see if, this forces Kerr's hand to go to Kuminga a little more because of it for his offense. You obviously, like, the pivot is clear. If you want Michael Porter, that's perfectly fine. He has played a boatload of minutes. He just hasn't made a lot of shots for a 41% three-point shooter. We know that there's going to be three-point makes in his future and probably more likely than not. So all the peripheral stats have been great. The minutes have been great. He just needs to make threes. And once they start falling, I mean, you're going to get a 20-10 game out of it.
I was going to say, even the number fantasy point wise isn't bad.
Paying off. He's paying off.
He's paying it off. Like you're getting your 5x, your right return. And that's we're disappointed in that because again, he's a 40+% career 3-point shooter. This is a guy that should be averaging an extra 4 to 5 actual points more per game. Add in the 3-point bonuses there. You're looking at a guy that should be more like 35 fantasy points a night and not 29 at 35 fantasy points at 5,800. That's like 7x return, right? So like, definitely like the pivot for Michael Porter Jr. Might even play the pivot for Michael Porter Jr. Tonight as well. Because again, I don't know what to do with Jonathan Kuminga here. Ownership has me a bit worried. You got Malik Monk off the bench playing his usual role here. 19 minutes, obviously, last night. Still gave you 22 fantasy points, but 28 and 26 in the 2 games prior. Yeah, coming off the bench, being a bucket, Malik Monk 6-man things, right? No, I can't really say too much more about that. Where else are we looking at small forward here?
I mean, Cam Johnson's fine at 52. No, like, real strong takes. I think he's fine as like a last piece. He's been fine for Brooklyn. Play mid-30s minutes. Gary Payton, the field's going to get to Gary Payton at 35. I feel least comfortable with Gary Payton's minutes out of everyone because anytime he's extended, he gets hurt. So, 3,500 for Gary Payton, I think is fine. But I don't really have much else at small forward.
Sure. I kind of agree with you. Payton would be the guy, $3,500. We did mention, did you say Cody Williams at all?
No. He was terrible in the preseason. I know he was their first round pick.
Okay.
I'm personally probably out on Cody Williams.
Okay. I mean, he played 25 minutes against Golden State in that blowout, did nothing with it, but 28 minutes gone. He's probably going to play. They're a team that's willing to let those young guys on the floor. Power forward. Zion 83 feels like one of the best plays of the day, assuming that there's no restrictions here, but he's played 29 minutes on opening night when there was a limit, and then they got blown out and he played 28 minutes. So if this is a 1-point competitive game in the third game, like, does he play more? I like the matchup for him. I love the price tag for him. Do we get to Zion tonight?
Is it my mic again? Does my mic stink again?
I don't know.
That mic is making my ears bleed. I don't know. MMA Play is having a tough time. His ears are bleeding. You might want to get checked that out, or go to the hospital, or anytime there's blood, get yourself like a tissue, put it in your ears.
I don't hear it if it is, but again, I don't have headphones in, so maybe it's a different sound. Nobody else has said anything, so let us know if it's popping or what you're hearing there. Maybe we can.
I hope your ears are okay. And I hope your ears are okay. I hope you get the care you need. Zion's fine at 83. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but he obviously has a ceiling even when he's limited. This game environment kind of stinks. Who knows what it's going to look like? I mean, 217 total. I'm good with Zion. I think even if there's a limit, it's probably still going to hover around like 30 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think this could be a spot that he really has a strong game, but you could always pivot down to Julius Randle here. Again, the last couple of games after the opening night been really good for them. So 46 and 41 fantasy points the last two games there. Definitely a Mike.
40 minutes in. We're 40 minutes in. Someone say something.
Who's Mike? James or mine?
Mine. It's got to be mine. I got to be talking on my.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to have you figure that out then for the next show here to get your webcam mic turned off. I said my settings show that it's my regular mic, so I don't know.
So does mine. I'm looking at mine. How's that? Is that better?
I don't know. So it all sounds the same to me. So I don't know. Anyways, we made it through power forward. Sorry guys that it has been great. I wish you said something earlier. We would have tried to figure it out.
Dude, we got people's ears bleeding. We got like all this
ever since you unplugged your mic yesterday, apparently the sound has been off. So
I don't know. I just adjusted some settings too. We'll see. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Well, we'll work on it for you guys for the next shows. Appreciate you all at least tuning in and not leaving. When you scream, it sounds better. Is it going in and out? Is that what the problem is?
It's gotta be I'm not screaming, but it's gotta be the camera, right? Like, because if I talk louder or if I get louder, the camera might pick it up, So
I think it's your camera because you definitely leaned in and you got louder. So it could be it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, you got to scream your pick. So they're having a hard time hearing you, I guess. Good.
Awesome.
Good to know. We'll figure out what's going on with the mic. Anyway, apologize for the sound issues then. Hopefully you can see what we're talking about when you pull it on the board. I like Julius Randle. I think he makes sense as a pivot off of Zion here today. Just, the minutes are going to be there. Soft, then loud. Okay. Faisal says it sounds good. Good. We got one. We got one. I like Randle today at 76. The price is there, and you can rely on the minutes for him in this matchup.
Faisal just used to me yelling all the time. Yeah, I mean, I think Julius Randle is an excellent play at $7,600.
Value tier. Again, we talked about a lot of these guys in the mid-tier range already. You're not in on Draymond tonight, I assume.
No. I don't know. No. I mean, he's taken 9 shots in 3 games. The peripheral stats are down. I don't know. I probably not. Tournaments only. I wish we got like a little bit better of a discount than Draymond, than we're getting on Draymond, but it's not my favorite play overall.
All right, working our way down then. Naz Reid. I like Dorian Finney-Smith. MMA Play is saying it's fixed. That's good. Hopefully,
I did change some settings, so we'll see if that does the job.
Rolly's been in here watching us for a couple of years. Well, we appreciate you always in the chat, my good friend there. Hit that like button if you guys haven't done so already. Hit the subscribe button so you get notified when we go live. Again, value tier. We've talked to obviously Michael Porter. There's Herb Jones, Cam Johnson, Naz Reid, Dorian Finney-Smith. As we work our way down the list, I also think that Noah Clowney is worth the dart throw as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting tier. Keegan Murray's going to play big minutes. PJ had a great game yesterday, played big minutes the last 2 games. I have to assume PJ is going to keep playing more if there's no Maxi Kleba. There is no Maxi Kleba, so PJ is going to play a bunch. Naz Reid, 52. I think Naz Reid is interesting in tournaments. But, we see when he's not crazy efficient offensively and on the glass, the mid-20s minutes, that's what it kind of is. And Rudy Gobert plays big minutes and Julius Randle plays big minutes. So Nas needs to be really effective at 5,200 to get there, as good as he is. And I agree. I mean, I'm not in on, I probably wouldn't play Dorian Finney-Smith. I understand the reasons why someone would with no Simmons. The rebounds have been fine. The shot attempts have been better than Finney-Smith fans could ever imagine. And Clowney is interesting in tournaments because, we're going to see him operate now as, I would say, the backup center. But that backup center, those backup center minutes could be 24 minutes. We don't know what the limit is. We have not gotten word on what Nick Claxton's.
And if Claxton gets into foul trouble, there's even more minutes to go around, right? So
yeah, so we're somewhere like starting point. I think Clowney is safe at like 20. He played 21 last game, and you don't know. I mean, if he's again, Claxton's on a strict limit and whatnot, we could see mid-20s for Clowney.
All right, so let's go to center here, and we'll get out of here to save everybody from the rest of the show. Jokic is there at 11.3. Top your price guy there. Sabonis is $9,300. Again, if you want to go a little Jokic light, he has coming off of he has one big game, had the triple double against the Lakers, 29, 12, and 10 in that one. Rudy Gobert is someone that we've talked a lot about, but we're also maybe a bit concerned about this matchup because they exploited him during that playoff series, and maybe this leads to it being a Naz Reid game instead here. Claxton, as we expect this to end to the starting lineup at 61. Walker Kessler's been playing a bunch of minutes outside of that one blowout loss, 30 in 2 of the 3, and he's been pretty good. Had a 5-block game. We know what he can do defensively here. So a couple of center options here on a small slate.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Getting bullied?
Yeah, we're
getting bullied in
I'm getting bullied. My mic, I have a perfectly fine mic. It just something happened with the connection.
We'll work on the settings.
Jokic is great. Sabonis is great. If you want to get to both those, Sabonis is in the best game environment on the day on the board. So if you want to get to Sabonis, do it. I'm fine with Gobert. Just if he's gonna even touch or get close to 40 minutes, I mean that's a lot of rebound and block potential. If we get word that Claxton's minutes are going to potentially go up to 30, I think he's too cheap at 6,100 because I think he's going to be a 7K plus player when he's full capacity. So if we do get up to 30 minutes for Claxton, 6,100 is really solid. I'm a little intrigued by Utah and what happens. Obviously, I don't. For Walker Kessler's sake, I would not love John Collins being on the floor for him.
Sure.
He's averaged like 20 plus potential rebounds per game. And the rebounds for Walker Kessler have been insane. I mean, 11, 9, and 14, not exactly like things we've seen from him lately. But if Collins is in the starting lineup, I mean, Collins is a great rebounder. It's going to be tough for Kessler to match his production. So if Collins is starting, he's an elite play at $5,400. And if he's starting, it kind of takes me off Walker Kessler a little bit because I just think John Collins is going to soak up too many rebounds for Kessler to reach value because that's really, I mean, the points are what they are.
Yep.
We're hoping Walker Kessler gets a boatload of rebounds and a boatload of blocks and then everything else to follow, right? So if Collins is starting, I'm definitely worried about Kessler.
You basically hope that he becomes what like Rudy Gobert was during the Utah days, right? Gave you like a 13 and 13 day with like a couple of blocks there.
Yes.
Again, I think this could be a Naz Reid day if they exploit Rudy Gobert Dallas like they did. That's why Naz Reid had such a big playoff series and second half, really. $5,200 for him there. You have either Dallas center, Lively, or Gafford, probably both in play, and if that ends up being the case as well. And then in the playbook, I put Missy here. Just guy gets on the floor, plays 20 minutes, and just makes things happen. 29, 22, and 19 fantasy points. Giving you 5+ X a night here at his price tag. Golden State, you don't know what they're going to do at their center spot. Trey Jackson Davis, Kevin Looney for a little bit, maybe a small ball Draymond. Like Misi could get on there and have a couple of blocks and some steals right away and make hay. So
to make our lives easier, his name pronunciation is Eve.
Eve.
His first name. Never would have guessed that.
Never would have got it. No. No, we should have though. We're both MMA fans. Eve Edwards.
Yeah, Eve. Yeah, Eve Misi. Yeah, I mean he has been super good. First round pick this year. He's super tall, 7 feet tall, super lanky, and he's just super active. I mean, some of his like per 36 numbers are pretty insane. He's blocking. He's just erasing shots. So yeah, I mean he's definitely an interesting punt. You're punting between him and Clowney. I think you can't go wrong if that's the direction your center position takes you.
Would you give Kevin Looney a look, who's been a wild fantasy point per minute guy the last 2 games?
Maybe. I mean, he played over Jackson Davis. You talked about it. That was Zubats related. Does New Orleans present that same issue? No. I would probably think they would go with the more athletic Jackson Davis, but probably not. But I do understand like your question because he's been really good in it from a fantasy per minute perspective.
Angel, we know we're working through the sound issues, but we apologize for the mic stuff on today's show. We'll make sure
just like this.
Yeah, just thumbs up, thumbs down. Well, we've hit the point where we build a lineup anyways. I'll give you one last chance to speak though, James. Nope. Dave wants to know if we got any good bets. You did your underdog plays today. Can you give us maybe an underdog player or two?
Yeah. Let me pull them up because I forget my underdog plays. I played Brandon Ingram over 29.5 PRA. He's first in potential assists and second in potential rebounds in the last 2 games with DeJounte out. So 29.5 PRA for Ingram. And I went less than 4.5 assists on Mike Conley today, John. Mike Conley had 6 assists last game. He also had 6 potential assists, which means his teammates had a 100% success rate on Mike Conley passes that have turned into 6 assists. That is not sustainable. That is not a number that will be something that over time corrects. It will correct itself. 5.3 potential assists per game for Conley, and the number is 4.5 assists. So I like the less than. Plus, he's obviously only averaging 24.5 minutes per game.
Sure. So I typed those in chat for the hearing impaired there.
I'm leaving. I'm just here. You do the show. You do the show by yourself.
All right, let's build a lineup here and get out of it. Again, I like Sexton here today. Not Sexton. That's a lie. I like Schroeder here today as a guard. We're gonna go obviously with the Warriors value here. So we got Podziemski healed. Do we want Porter or Kuminga?
Kuminga. Also, I just listened to the sound. It sucks. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
You did a little playback? You got a little playback?
I did while you were talking.
So you sound okay to me, but I think it's because we're both in the same recording studio. So yeah, definitely apologize if it sounds not working out clear. We'll do some testing before we launch. All right, so we got our 3 Warriors and Schroeder. We got 7K a play. Luka was our leverage on the field today for ownership. So we'll plug in Luka, $5,400. What do we want to do next?
I mean, I like Collins. I think John Collins is poised for a bigger role. I mean, he's about 5,400 at center.
Okay, we got 5,400 for 2 spots left then here. Can still go Michael Porter if you like that there.
Sure.
And that gives us a 5K util. 5K util can be Hawkins, $4,900. Can be Braun, $4,400. Got a preference?
I mean, Christian Brown's going to play the minutes. Jordan Hawkins is probably going to take more shots. So it just depends on your flavor there.
Sure. We'll go minutes. We'll go Brown. Again, Brooklyn, turnover machine team. So you can get some steals and blocks there out of Christian Brown. So there we go. We got a little Brooklyn-Denver stack. We got our Golden State plays. We got Luka as our spend up. We got $600 left over for everybody. Playbook is out live already. Again, the slate doesn't start till 7:30 here today, so you got an extra time to get your lineups in. James and I will be back tomorrow with better mic quality. We'll have the preview show as well available for you guys at some point tonight. So we appreciate, again, you guys tuning in. As always, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button, and we'll be back for a big Wednesday slate to make some money.